The biggest danger you face today is not failing. It is doing well. Because when things go wrong, you stop. You think. You ask questions. But when things go right, when life is good and everything is working, that is when you stop paying attention. That is when you slowly drift away from what matters. And you do not even feel it happening. There was a king who had everything. Power, money, a whole kingdom. And on the night everything was taken from him, he was having a party. This is his story. And before it is over, you may realize it is yours too. His name was Belshazzar. He was the king of Babylon. Now, Babylon was not just a city. It was a place that said to the whole world, nobody can touch us. The walls were so thick that people drove horses and carts across the top of them. They were so tall, you could barely see the top. So strong that no army had ever broken through. A river ran right through the middle of the city. They had water. They had enough food stored to last 20 years. They had everything. Inside those walls, nobody even thought about losing. So when the Persian army came and surrounded the city, the king was not afraid. He threw a party, not a small dinner. A celebration for 1,000 of his closest people. Music, drinks, laughter. The kind of party that says we cannot be touched and we know it. But there was something nobody inside those walls knew. The enemy was not standing outside waiting. They were already coming in. The Persian army had quietly moved the river. They changed its direction. And while everyone inside was dancing and drinking, the enemy walked in through the dry path where the river used to be. This is what happens when you feel too safe. You stop watching. You stop paying attention. And the danger walks right past you while you are busy celebrating. But before the city fell, something else happened first. Something that could not be seen from the outside. Something that changed inside the king. In the middle of the party, he gave an order. He said, "Bring me the cups from the temple of God." You need to know what these cups were. They were not regular drinking cups. They were special containers taken from the house of God in Jerusalem. His grandfather had taken them during a war, many years before. They were kept safely stored away. Even his grandfather, who was a powerful and sometimes cruel king, never used them for regular purposes. He respected them enough to leave them alone, but Belshazzar decided to bring them out at a party and pour drinks into them. Not because he needed them. He had plenty of cups. He did it to make a point, to show that nothing was off limits to him, that he was above everything, even the things of God. And as people drank from those holy cups, they sang and cheered for statues made of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. Statues that could not see, could not hear, could not do anything. The problem was not just what they were doing. The problem was what it showed about the heart of the king. He no longer respected what was holy. He no longer recognized the difference between what was sacred and what was ordinary. And that moment did not go unnoticed. Then, something happened that nobody expected. No loud noise, no shaking ground, no warning of any kind. Just a hand, a human hand, with no body attached to it, came out of nowhere and began moving across the wall of the room, writing words. It did not happen all at once. Someone near the wall probably saw it first, then the person next to them, then the person next to that person. And slowly, the whole room went quiet. 1,000 people, all of them silent, all of them staring at the same wall, watching letters appear, one after another. This was not something anyone could explain. It was not the light playing tricks. It was not the wine. This was God. Something from beyond had entered the room, and it had something to say. The king saw it, and the change in him was immediate. The Bible says in the book of Daniel his face changed color. His mind was filled with fear. His legs became weak. His knees started shaking. This was the same man who 1 hour earlier felt like the most powerful person alive. Now he could barely stand. There are moments in life Moments you do not plan for, breaking the structure, silencing the noise, until all that's left is you, and the truth you can no longer ignore. The king called for his smartest men, his advisors, his problem solvers. He told them,
Whoever can read this and tell me what it means.
I will dress him in royal clothing, put a gold chain around his neck, and make him one of the top leaders in my kingdom. They all came. They all looked. Not one of them could explain it, because this was not a puzzle that human intelligence could solve. This was a message from God, and you do not decode a message like that. You receive it. Here is where the story turns, because in every moment of reckoning, there is always someone who walks in a different spirit. His name was Daniel. Not the most famous person there, not the most powerful, but the most clear-headed. He walked in with no rush, no nervousness, no excitement about the reward the king had offered. He was calm. Simply calm. The king repeated his offer. Expensive clothes, gold jewelry, a high position in the kingdom. Daniel looked at him and said, Keep all of that. Give it to someone else. That was not pride. That was focus. Daniel understood something the rest of the room had forgotten. When the truth needs to be told, what you will get in return does not matter. You just tell it. You do not bargain with the truth. You do not soften it to make people feel better. You do not wait until the reward is right. You simply tell it. Daniel turned and looked at the words on the wall. The same words that had made 1,000 people go silent. The same words that every wise man in the kingdom had failed to understand. He read them out loud. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Then he turned back to the king and explained. Mene means God has counted the days of your kingdom, and they are finished. Tekel means you have been put on a scale and measured, and you have come up short. Upharsin means your kingdom is going to be taken from you and divided between the Medes and the Persians. 3 words. 3 short sentences. A final answer. No room for argument. No second chance to make a case. And here is the part that makes this most serious. Belshazzar was not a man who had never heard of God. He was not someone who grew up without any knowledge of these things. He had seen with his own eyes what happened to his grandfather Nebuchadnezzar. He had watched pride destroy a great man. He had watched humility restore him. He knew the lesson. He had seen it lived out in his own family. And he still chose to go in the opposite direction. That is what the judgment was really about. Not being ignorant, knowing the right thing and choosing to ignore it anyway. That same night, it was all over. The Persian army came into the city. The great walls of Babylon, the walls that were supposed to be impossible to break, did not save anyone that night. The party that felt like a celebration of strength became the last night of a kingdom. The king was killed. The kingdom was handed over. What looked like it would last forever did not last the night. And the thing that stays with you when you think about this story is how fast it happened. One night, the hand appeared. The message was given. The kingdom fell. What you put your confidence in matters. Because some things that look completely solid are not as solid as they appear. Now this is where the story stops being about an ancient king and starts being about you. Most of us will never be in charge of a kingdom. But every single one of us is in charge of something. Our choices, our time, what we give our energy to, what we keep in our hearts. And this story asks a question that most people are too busy to stop and answer. Have you been measured? Not by the people around you. Not by how successful you look. Not by how full your schedule is or how much you have achieved. Measured by whether the way you are living actually lines up with what you believe. Measured by whether the things that are supposed to be important to you are actually being treated that way. Because here's the truth this story wants you to see. You can be moving forward and still be going the wrong way. You can look completely fine on the outside and be drifting on the inside. You can be surrounded by good things, good people, good results, and still be slowly losing what matters most without realizing it. The most dangerous place is not when things are hard. The most dangerous place is when everything feels good, when life is comfortable, when you are busy and successful, when there is always something to celebrate, because that is when the quiet things get ignored. That is when the important things get treated like ordinary things. That is when the enemy walks through the riverbed while everyone is at the party. But here is the difference between you and Belshazzar. You are still here. The hand has not written on your wall yet. That means you still have a choice. Not later. Right now. In the regular, ordinary moments of your day. Before it reaches a point of no return, you can decide to live differently. So, just stop for a moment. Not to say the right words. Not to perform. Just to be honest. God, if there is anything in my life that I have put in the place that belongs to you, show me. If I have become so comfortable that I am slowly drifting away without noticing, gently bring me back. I do not want to, one day, look back and see that I had every chance to choose differently, and I did not take it. So look at my life today, not to judge me, but to guide me, not to shame me, but to fix what is broken. Give me a heart that stays close to you, even when life is going well. That does not only turn to you when things fall apart, that does not need a crisis to pay attention. Take me in the right direction, quietly, steadily, in a way that actually matters. Amen. If something in this hit differently than you expected, do not brush it off. Those moments when something quiet speaks to you from the inside are often the most important moments you will have. Not every feeling is just a feeling. Some of them are an invitation to take a closer look, to make a different choice, to stop drifting and start paying attention to the life you are building. If this meant something to you, send it to one person. Not for any other reason except that someone you know might need to hear this right now, before the moment passes. The hand has not written on your wall yet. That is not just good luck. That is grace. Use it before anything is written about your life. Make sure you are living it well.